الحمد لله وكفى وسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ولقد آتينا موسى الكتاب وقفينا من بعده بالرسل وآتينا عيسى ابن مريم البينات وأيدناه بروح القدس أفكلما جاءكم رسول بما لا تهوى أنفسكم استكبرتم ففريقا كذبتم وفريقا تقتلون وقالوا قلوبنا غلف بل لعنهم الله بكفرهم فقليلا ما يؤمنون صدق الله العظيم. Regarding ayat number 87 and number 88 of Surat al-Baqarah, we have gotten to that portion of the ayah related to Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam. Amongst the Ashrat al-Sa'a, the signs of the Day of Judgment, and more particularly the Ashrat al-Kubra, those signs of the Day of Judgment that are considered the major signs, the coming of or the nuzul of Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam. This is also amongst the Ashrat al-Kubra, the major signs of the Day of Judgment. Before his coming, there will be the appearance of the Mahdi or Imam Mahdi. We've already gone over that. Relating to the Dajjal, the impostor, we mentioned many of the abilities that will be given to the Dajjal. His control of weather, his manipulation of the minds of the people through using virtual reality to make people see paradise and hell, which in reality will be the opposites. That which will be his paradise will in essence be Jahannam, and that which will be his fire will in essence lead a person to paradise or Jannah. Dajjal will also have this ability to resurrect those that he kills, or those who have been killed and who have died. Some in the scientific world today, there's a lot of deep research done in the fields of what they call stem cell research. It is a field through which they're able to restore damaged limbs within the human beings. They also have cloning. This is a field that is going on. There was a lot of laws passed against it, but the Dajjal, he'll have control over most of this. There's also his ability to see and perceive people and watch people's lives. You will not be able to hide from Dajjal. The hadith mentions that he'll have one eye. And when you read the hadith, it is said that his eye will be like a grapefruit, a protruded grapefruit. And Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam again told us in the hadith that your Rabb is not one-eyed. So this is how Dajjal will be telling people to worship him. But in reality, that worship of him, he will be able to tell them things about their life that will be hidden. In today's world, we have this perception that Dajjal may be some deformed person, that he'll have one big eye and the other one will be blind, or people have their own ideas of what this hadith speaks about. If you read the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, it makes it very clear that they also have this concept of the all-seeing one eye, and I'll come back to that. It's a very, very old concept, but this eye of Dajjal that he'll be able to see with, or he'll see people's lives with. For those who are familiar with the fields of technology, we have cameras, and if you look at the actual system of a camera, it's nothing but a ball. And if you go to the AI and the concepts and some of the designs that those who are very high level in the intelligence world and artificial intelligence I don't mean the other intelligence, okay? But the artificial intelligence, those who are familiar with that, whenever they draw the concepts of a supercomputer, if you look at the design, it looks like a grapefruit, a very, very big one, obviously. And it has many cameras, many mirrors, various forms on it, through which it is able to capture a very large amount of data. A lot of these quantum computers, those that are the modern day, some of the very recent ones, those that are in IBM or even in Google and some of these very big corporations, they've been able to compute large amounts of data which could have taken the other computers that we have today a very, very long time. And they're claiming 10,000 years to compute. But anyhow, the technology is changing at such a rapid pace. A time will come where no one will be hidden from Dajjal. There used to be a time where people could think that how Dajjal will be able to see everyone, how Dajjal will be able to watch people's lives, how Dajjal will be able to track every human being. But in today's world, it's not difficult. Our cell phones, they have chips. And the cell phones also have recording devices. A few years back, there was, from the NSA, there was a hacker who ended up deflecting. He went to Russia, very famous. His name was Snowden. And he exposed a lot of things the government was doing through watching people, recording people in their homes. Sometimes they would even turn on the people's cameras and watch them. And this was something that was a big shock for the vast majority of people who don't know about technology. But those who are in the technology field say this is not something amazing. They already knew that these things were going on because those who are involved in programming, they understand, and those who are involved in these technologies, they understand that so long as there's a power source to something, even if that object is off, you can still use it like a recording device, even if your phone is off. And even trackers work even when that item is off. This is how police are able to track cars. Even the vehicle is off, they're able to find that. They're able to locate that vehicle if it has a tracker on it. So this is how they will know, or the Dajjal will know where people are. He'll be able to know information about people. It is not that at one time he'll have information about everyone. But when he will need to know about someone, he'll just simply click one thing and the whole information will come. Sometimes you go to the doctor, you want to change your doctor, you go to another doctor, and the doctor asks you just your name or your last name, and they pull up your whole history, You have this, you say, what kind of ilm ghaib you have? How do you know I have all these things, But this is in a major database. They collect all this data. And this data is so accurate that sometimes they can even predict your next move. They can even predict how often you go to the supermarket, how often you buy particular items. They're able to almost predict your movements. And they were also able through this in marketing, and those who are in the field of marketing, they start marketing to particular people in a particular way. So your search engines, they start tracking you. They search anything you search on there, they gets tracked. So there was one of my friends was telling me that there was a person, he started receiving coupons for newborn baby, formula and diapers or something. So the father was thinking to himself that what is this, The man in the house, he started just out of the blue, he started receiving these funny little coupons. So he asked his wife, are we expecting it? How did this even come about? So they went to one of the agencies and they found out that this person's daughter, she had got married, she was going to have a child, So they started receiving all this stuff in the mail of how to take care of the infant baby. All these coupons started coming. And they found out that this was actually leaked from their the IPI address, from their computer address. Their internet access point was giving out this information to various advertisers. So this kind of data is already taken, it is already shared. So it's not something amazing to think. In this time, yes, a few hundred years back, people could have thought, how will the Dajjal know where people are? How will the Dajjal be able to track people? But in this time and age, it's not difficult to understand. The Dajjal will be able to know exactly where someone is. You'll be able to pinpoint. You have you have a cell phone on you, or you'll have a time is coming now, the new era, where they're talking about implants. They're talking about chip implants inside you. And this one chip that will be inside you, you'll be able to make phone calls with it. You think it's strange seeing someone talking to themselves. Sometimes you go to the supermarket, you see a person talking to himself, and when he turns around, he has a little Bluetooth on his. They look so strange, they're talking, You think that is strange. Wait till you see people talking and they'll have just a chip inside, you won't even know who they're talking to. So this chip will have all your medical records. This chip will be a tracker. This will also be a passport. You won't need any kind of ID. Everything will be in. You just scan the chip and you'll go. This is how payments will be. This is the future of credit cards and debit cards. Everything will be done with just this one chip, a super chip. So time is coming. This is the future of where we're going to. So the Dajjal will be able to track everyone and anyone at any given time. And we might think, well, I won't, agree to this kind of, 50, 60 years back, no one could ever think that they would ever agree to have a credit card. Everyone said that, no, we're too smart. And every person that signs the credit card agreement says, I'll be within limits. I will not spend more than I have to. And what happens? The vast majority end up falling into problems. So this is how these things, many times we say we won't agree to these things, but a time will come where the whole dunya, the whole world will be involved in it. And you won't be able to live a life without it. It'll become very, very difficult to have a life without that particular item. So you'll be almost forced into a system. Why? Because it is the norm of society. So this is how the Dajjal will have so much information about people. So it is said that then the Dajjal will come. It is also said that the Dajjal, he will have a mark on his forehead. That the believers who will see that mark, they'll be able to say that it says kafir or disbeliever. Other people will not be able to see that mark. It will be very clearly written on the words kaf, fa, and ra. This will be written on his forehead. How this will be or what this will be, we're very familiar in this time and age with tattoos and how these things work. Or it may be a kind of form that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put on him. So you'll be able to very clearly know. But these are some of the signs of the Dajjal. Dajjal, when he will appear, no one will be able to escape from him. So he will travel around and he'll start to get a following. People will either worship him or die not worshipping him. Because he'll control the food of the world. It was already mentioned previously that all of the food items in the world will be under his control. In this world, in the United States, we have 8 major corporations. They control all of the food that we eat. There are 8 major corporations which supply all these restaurants, supply all these, and they have like 100 different names. At the end, when you go back, you find it's only that one corporation. Especially your cereals, your frozen foods, most of these things, they go back to one corporation. The 8 major corporations in the United States. They control all the food, literally the whole food industry in the United States. Also, we live in such a time where the vast amount of food is consumed by a very small portion of humanity. 20% of the world consumes almost 80% of the food supply of the world. And actually the number is a little more than that. I believe it's only 17% that consumes 80%. Else, I'm just being nice with the numbers. So 20% of the world is actually consuming most of the supplies and the sustenance of the world. That is why we still have poverty. If it was ever equally distributed, so we would not have poverty. Now, to actually find how much food is being wasted based on the rules and laws within various countries, you'll be surprised how many in the hundreds of tons, millions of tons of food is wasted every year. You're going to go do the research, find the research just from 2016 to 2018. How much from 2015 the data started. It's unbelievable amount of food that is wasted. Most of that food generally is still fresh, but because the manufacturers and the consumers have to continuously go through that, they're generally wasted and thrown out, and they're allowed to become spoiled rather than giving them to the poor or those who are in need. And there's a whole long system into this industry. It's an industry of money and how this money works. So you find the vast majority of the people that when you look at the food sustenance aspect and the ratios in the world, it's unbelievable. So it's not difficult to actually conceive that the Dajjal will control the food of the world. This is already happening, some corporation. There's also new research coming out with GMOs, these genetically modified organisms, where the companies in their labs, they make these new seeds. And they will plant these seeds. And these seeds are very, very strange because there's a lot of research done in Walmart and some of these other big corporations. They had done a lot of research into the GMOs, the genetically modified organisms, where they were genetically modifying the seeds of various fruits. And they had various plantations or various farms where they would plant these seeds, and many of those that they planted, they had to plant them in particular areas. All of the farms around that farm, all of their produce would die. That is why a few years back there was a shortage of particular fruits, because these GMOs were planted in one particular area. So you know, all of these insects, the bees and the various other insects that are out there, they pollinate various flowers, they pollinate various seeds. And whenever these GMOs, these genetically modified organisms, they're in an area and their pollen is taken and used to pollinate other seeds, it kills those that are natural. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created a system in His creation that anyone or anything disturbs His system, it ends up becoming destructive. So there was a lot of research into it. After some time, there were also a lot of health concerns that came about from those GMOs. That is why you see most of the world has now gone organic, and they're trying to be as natural as possible, because there was the amount of health problems that were coming from these genetically modified organisms. It became very, very difficult. And this is actually a ploy that these companies wanted to take all of the farmers out of business, because many of these farmers had these farms in their family for generations. So these farmers were not ready to sell their farms to these organizations or these corporations. So this was kind of a system to put them out of business, and these corporations can then control the food supply. And there's a lot of other details. We don't have time to go into all of this, and how the Dajjal will actually control the food supply. It's unbelievable when you start to research and you start to find how these things will work, especially in the 21st century. Yes, 100 years ago, this could have been some kind of fantasy or some kind of myth that we could have heard about, or some very nice story, but the reality is that the time we live in, it's a very strange time. So this is how the Dajjal will control the food supply. So the vast majority of people only have two options. The whole humanity only have two options. Either to worship the Dajjal and survive, or to try and oppose him. And those who oppose him will generally be killed. As for the believers, they'll have the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and other sustenance that is used to sustain the creation in the heavens. So that will become the sustenance of those on earth. For the believers, the Dajjal, he'll go around from village to village, country to country. He'll start controlling the masses. And then he'll come to Makkah. When he'll come to the city of Makkah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created a system of protection around Makkah. Because this is a very, very Mubarak place. It is a haram, it is a sanctuary. So the Dajjal, he will not be able to step inside Makkah. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created malaika that will protect Makkah from any kind of influence of Dajjal. So Dajjal, he will camp outside of Makkah. Then there will be a very, very severe earthquake that will happen inside Makkah. Those who will be living in Makkah trying to be protected from Dajjal, many of the people flee to Makkah and Medina for protection. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will cause an earthquake to happen in Makkah. It will be a very, very severe earthquake. And this earthquake, all those people whose iman is not strong, they will run out of Makkah. And they'll be affected, influenced by Dajjal. And then Dajjal, he'll come to Medina. And it's amazing how Makkah is mentioned, because the Kaaba, for those who are familiar with the barakat and the amazing mu'jizat and miracles of the Kaaba, the Baytullah, you know that no aeroplane directly flies over the Kaaba. Many of the electronics, they don't directly work on top of the Kaaba. There's a lot of research into why. There's specific type of magnetic forces that work there that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created. So yes, unfortunately, we go from Umrah and Hajj and people are live streaming their tawaf. La ilaha illallah. You're in a place you're supposed to be worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You're sitting here live streaming. This is a time for dhikr. This is a time for dua. This is a time to talk to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we'd rather talk to the whole world. Very strange. This is the time, don't even pull your phone out. Don't even take your phone with you if you don't need to. Focus on your ibadah. What other time will you get to do this kind of ibadah? Anyhow, so Dajjal, he'll leave Makkah, and all those that were not able to handle the earthquake and not able to handle the force of Dajjal, they will fall prey to Dajjal, and he'll come to Medina. Same thing will happen. He'll not be able to enter into Medina. There'll be malaika, angels, they'll be set up to guard Medina. This is also a haram. It's also a sanctuary. So Dajjal, again, he'll camp outside of Medina, and there's a particular place that's known. If you speak to some of the ulama who are experts And they can even show you the place where the Dajjal will camp. There's a specific mountain. And there's a very beautiful palace there now. Don't disturb anything there. I'm just sharing with you. There's a particular place that he will stay. So the Dajjal will stay there, and there'll be an earthquake that will affect Medina. And all those whose iman is not strong, they will flee Medina. They'll be affected by this. So just remember, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala preserve and protect us and protect our iman. Don't be affected by those things at that time. Just protect yourself from the Dajjal. So when this will happen, the people will flee Medina. They'll also fall prey to the Dajjal. During this time, a war will start. On one side, Imam Mahdi with the believers will make preparations to fight Dajjal, and Dajjal will have his army. And this war, as these preparations will be going on, Imam Mahdi along with all of the Muslims, they'll be in Syria. Syria has a very, very rich history. Fortunately, most of it has been destroyed. Amongst the signs of the Day of Judgment, one of the minor signs before the appearance of the Mahdi, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he told one Sahabi, this Sahabi, he was famous for being a secret keeper of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. He used to keep many, many secrets. Many of the ahadith reported by this Sahabi, Sayyidina Hudhayfa radiyallahu anhu, there are very, very unique secrets about the signs of the Day of Judgment, about the fitan, about the dangers that will come. And he was a very unique secret keeper. He never told anyone any secrets of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And he was such a Sahabi that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam entrusted him with the names of all of the munafiqeen, the hypocrites at that time. He knew all 300 of them, or however number there were at that time. He was also given the secrets of the various fitan that will come, including the many, many major signs of the Day of Judgment. So you will find that many of these ahadith, when he starts speaking about the fitan that will affect humanity, he used to keep these secrets till the end of his life. And he was also one of the Sahaba that had a very long life. And Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu, whenever there was a janazah, so he used to look if Hudhayfa radiallahu anhu was there. Anytime Hudhayfa radiallahu anhu was not in a janazah, so Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu used to say, I'm not feeling good, someone else lead, and he would excuse himself. Because he was very strict about not praying janazah over the munafiqeen. He was very staunch against the munafiqeen. Also, when he became Khalifa, he called Sayyidina Hudhayfa radiallahu anhu, and he said that in my court, is there any munafiq? So Hudhayfa radiallahu anhu looked at him and said, I can't tell you that. I've been instructed, this is a secret, why you? He said, no, I'm Amirul Mu'mineen, you must tell me. He said, yes, but the Nabi of Allah told me not to tell you. Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu said, okay, fine. Is there a munafiq here? So Hudhayfa radiallahu anhu kept silent. Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu, he got the message, so he fired a few, 2, 3, he fired them. Then he looked at Hudhayfa radiallahu anhu, he said, is there any more munafiq? He said, no. Then he got the message, So Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu used to trust him. He was very, very trustworthy. So he used to speak about many of these kind of fitan that would come. And one of those he spoke about, you'll find many, many ahadith. The only reason he mentioned these ahadith at the end of his life is because it is a sin to keep a ilm of deen to yourself. So before many of these Sahaba would pass away, they would narrate those hadith to their students as amana, as a trust. And later on they became part of ulum and became part of this deen. So one of those was also that a time will come. So this Sahabi was also entrusted with the names of many, many oppressors that will come, that will oppress the ummah. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam gave him. And these are some of the major oppressors that will come till Qiyamah. And Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam specifically told him that in the land of Sham, means Syria today, he said in the land of Sham, there'll be one zalim that will come and he'll kill the vast majority of my progeny. He'll kill many of those that are Sayyid and the ulama of that. And he said this zalim, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will deal with him. This is amongst the major signs. This is amongst the minor signs that are coming close to the major signs this will happen. And many of the great ulama, muhaddithin and mufassirin, they've been killed in all these wars that are going on. So this was one of the major signs. So in Syria, there is a masjid. And this is where Imam Mahdi will collect the believers for salah. There's one specific masjid on which Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam, he will come down. That masjid is known. Now in this war, that masjid has been damaged because of all of the bombings and the shelling. And that masjid is a very, very massive masjid. It has many, many minarets and it will be rebuilt, time will come. And on the eastern minaret of that masjid, Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam, he will descend. It will be the time of Asr Salah. All of the believers will stand and Iqamah will be called. And when they'll call the Iqamah for Salah, some of the people will start looking up and will start shouting. It's to say that Isa is coming. So Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam, he'll have his hands around two malaika and he'll be coming down. And he'll come on that minaret. And everyone will be watching. So he'll come down. And he'll have a very, very beautiful sweat that will be coming down. And that sweat will have a very, very beautiful scent. So then, Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam, when he comes down from the minaret, he'll kind of like in a ruku type sense, and some of the sweat will fall off him. So then he will go. And Imam Mahdi will be ready to lead the salah, so he will move back to let Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam lead salah. Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam will take the hand of Imam Mahdi and tell him, no, you lead the salah. Because I am also an ummati of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. To show that I'm going to pray behind an ummati of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. I'm not here to implement my sharia, but I'm here to be a follower of the sharia of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So this is also amongst the major signs of the Day of Judgment. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran, at the ending of Surat An-Nisa, بَلْ رَفَعَهُ اللَّهُ إِلَيْهِ وَكَانَ اللَّهُ عَزِيزًا حَكِيمًا وَإِن مِّنْ أَهْلِ الْكِتَابِ إِلَّا لَيُؤْمِنَنَّ بِهِ قَبْلَ مَوْتِهِ وَيَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ تَكُونَ عَلَيْهِمْ شَهِيدًا. That Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam, he was raised to the heavens. And this is, the people who crucified him, they were left bewildered. وَمَا قَتَلُوهُ وَمَا صَلَبُوهُ وَلَكِنْ شُبِّهَ لَهُمْ. This is mentioned in Surah An-Nisa, towards the very ending of Surah An-Nisa. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَإِن مِّنْ أَهْلِ الْكِتَابِ إِلَّا لَيُؤْمِنَنَّ بِهِ قَبْلَ مَوْتِهِ. And from the Ahl Kitab, they will definitely believe in him before his death. So some of the Mufassireen are mentioning that is speaking about Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam, that before he passes away, the Ahl Kitab that will still be on earth at that time, either they'll be killed in the wars or they will believe in him and then they will pass away. This is before he passes away, before Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam passes away. So he will come down as a follower and ummati of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. But during this time he was assisted by Ruh al-Qudus. Even he'll come down through Jibreel alayhi salam, one of the malaika that will bring him down. So this is what this ayah is talking about. Also Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in this ayah, وَآتَيْنَا عِيسَى بْنَ مَرْيَمَ الْبَيِّنَاتِ وَأَيَّدْنَاهُ بِرُوحِ الْقُدُسِ. We gave Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam many al-bayyinat, many miracles that he performed, and we spoke about those miracles. وَأَيَّدْنَاهُ بِرُوحِ الْقُدُسِ, and we assisted him with Ruh al-Qudus, with Jibreel alayhi salam. So many of these miracles that he showed to the Bani Israel, even then they were not ready to believe. And he'll come back near the Day of Judgment, or amongst the major signs of the Day of Judgment. He'll come also to kill Dajjal. When the war will start, his main mission will be to get rid of the Dajjal. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will only give him this permission to kill Dajjal. No one else will be able to kill Dajjal. So this is the basic background behind some of the major signs of the Day of Judgment that will appear. Some people say we want to be alive to see that time. No, you don't want to be alive to see that time. Because our iman, we don't know what level it is. Sometimes we think we can face Dajjal. We can't even face the kuffar here, Sometimes, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive us. Sometimes some pressure comes and we're even ready to change our name. How much of you we're even ready to even change our clothes? We're ready to change our identity. We're ready to give up a sunnah. Why? Because we know the level of our own iman. If the iman was strengthened like that of Sahaba, they were able to walk to the face of some of the most powerful kings of that time. And they were not afraid. They kept their sunnah, they kept their... when Persia was conquered, Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu, he sent a delegation of Sahaba. And that delegation was also Sayyidina Salman al-Farisi radiallahu anhu. And they went to... They were to have a meeting council with the king and the ministers. Remember, Islam did not come to destroy people. It came to give da'wah to them. So the king and all of the ministers were brought. They were sitting down there having a meal. The Muslims had presented and they were eating. So a morsel, something from the morsel of the food, it fell on the starkhan, on the ma'idah they call. So Sayyid Salman al-Farisi radiallahu anhu, he picked it up and he ate it. One of the servants who was serving kind of came down to him and said, whispered to him that you should not have done this, It's not the etiquettes of these kings, That something falls on you, pick it up, you look like a hungry person. So Salman al-Farisi looked at him and he said that I should give up my sunnah for these kings, these foolish kings, They don't know the sunnah of our Nabi. That even we eat, and the place we eat in is so clean. This is the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You're not supposed to eat in a dirty place. The place you eat in should be so clean that if something falls, you should be able to just pick it up and eat it. This is the hikmah and the wisdom behind. There's no 3-second rule. They tell us if something falls down, if it's not 3 seconds, you can eat it. If it's 3 seconds, that's how filthy the world we live in. The sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam is that the place you eat in should be so clean that even if something falls there, you pick it up, you eat it. You should not be thinking that is this filthy or not. This is one of the things about health, about tahara, about cleanliness. So this was the Sahaba that in the face of such superpowers of that time, Persia was a superpower of that time. We can imagine their kings, how powerful, what kind of etiquette they used to have and protocol. Sahaba were so simple, they didn't care for these things. But he was trying to show the importance of sunnah. He said, we're eating is so clean. And you're worried about the protocol of these people. We have our own sunnah. He said, because of the barakah of this sunnah, we conquered them. Well, what is our iman? Had we been told something like that, we say, oh, we're sorry, we apologize to everyone, Because we know where our iman is. At least I can say about myself, I know we don't have that kind of strength. Sometimes we get these dreams that, oh, if I ever see Dajjal, I'll do this to him, and you, brother, you'll run. Okay? Either you will freeze or you will run. This is how weak we are. We hear something at nighttime, we're sleeping. We get up to use the restroom, we hear something outside, what happens? We're ready to jump back in our bed and cover ourselves. This is our iman. We think some jinn or something. We're ready to cover ourselves. We get panicked. This is how our iman is. Sahaba used to meet jinn, they weren't afraid of them. Hadith in Bukhari, Sayyidina Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, he was in charge of the Baytul Mal. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam put him in charge. And at night time he heard some ruffling, so he went inside. And he saw some lady or something, some person stealing. He grabbed, I'm taking you to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. It was a jinn. He said, no, let me go. I have poor family, this and that. When Sayyidina Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu went to the masjid the next morning, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam asked him, how was your, how was your guest last night? Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu said, oh, you know about him. He said, that was a jinn, The name Al-Ghul, it's one of these stages of jinn. We have athletes amongst us. They also have one of the higher stages, you have the jinn, and then you have Al-Ghul. It's a little more powerful jinn. So Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam told him, he's coming back tonight also. We heard something and say, okay, can you assign someone else to the Baytul Mal? Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, he went there, he was just waiting for him. He said, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam told me he's coming, I'm waiting. He was waiting, watching. When he came, he said, man, you're late. What were you doing? He said, I've been waiting for you. He said, I'm definitely taking you to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam now. So the Ghul told him that, you know who I am? He said, I know who you are. You're a jinn. You're this kind of jinn specifically. They said, okay, fine. We make a deal. The jinn realized, oh, he's not afraid of me, man. I'm finished. So he said, okay, we make a deal. I'll tell you something through which you'll be able to protect yourself from us, I'll read Ayat al-Kursi. Ayat al-Kursi protects you from us. But the deal is that you have to not take me to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So Abu Hurairah said, okay, fine. He let him go. Next morning he came to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was smiling at him. He said, how was your guest last night? He said, this transpired. He made this deal with me that if I don't bring him to you, that he'll teach me something how we can protect ourselves. And he told me that if anyone reads Ayat al-Kursi, we cannot go around them or they'll be protected from us. So Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, yes, that jinn is a great liar, but he told you the truth. The one time he told you, he spoke a truth to you. Whoever reads Ayat al-Kursi, they will not be affected by jinn. But I'm telling you about our iman, how much we would be able to handle something like this. This is how they're dealing with, so normal. And so that is why I don't wish to see that time. Don't dream about that time. It'll be a very difficult time. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He gives us death with iman. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala take us in a state of iman. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make the time of our death the time that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pleased with us. This is what we should be making dua for. This is what we should be hoping for. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give all of us understanding of His deen and give us the tawfiq to practice His deen. وَمَا عَلَيْنَا إِلَّا الْبَلَاغُ. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. اللهم نور قلوبنا بالقرآن وزين أخلاقنا بالقرآن ونجنا من النار بالقرآن وادخلنا في الجنة بالقرآن. اللهم اجعل القرآن لنا في الدنيا قرينا وفي القبر مونسا
وعلى الصراط نورا وفي الجنة رفيقا ومن النار سترا وحجابا. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.
سبحان الله وبحمده سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك.